Okay, so I want you to just imagine for a second. Can you picture humans building a complex mechanical computer 2,000 years ago?
Right.
Not, a dusty scroll or a diagram, but an actual physical machine.
A machine that can process data and tell you what the cosmos is going to do.
Exactly. It sounds like something out of science fiction.
It really does.
Huh.
But it's the reality that was pulled from the sea floor.
Yeah.
And that's the central, almost mind-bending idea in our sources for today's deep dive.
A device built by the ancient Greeks. A real piece of tech that it completely shifts our understanding of what they were capable of.
It really does.
And this isn't just some cool artifact. It's what historians now universally call the first computer. It forces a total rethink of the timeline of civilization. So our mission here is to unpack the genius of its construction, what it could do, and, why its existence means we have to rewrite some pretty big chapters in the history of technology.
It's a huge deal.
It is. So for you, the listener, you're getting the shortcut to being well-informed on one of the greatest mechanical mysteries ever found. Okay, let's unpack this.
So I think the first thing to really get your head around from the material is just the audacity of this device.
The audacity, I like that.
Yeah, this wasn't a blueprint. It wasn't a thought experiment. It was a physical working machine built 2 millennia ago.
And the fact that it even existed back then, it just challenges that whole idea we have of technology moving in a straight, simple line.
It totally shatters it.
And that starts with how we even define it. When we hear ancient tool, we think of something simple, like an abacus.
A counting device.
Or
Yeah.
a basic sun clock. But the sources are really clear on this. This invention was something else entirely. It wasn't about adding or subtracting.
No, it was about modeling reality.
Yes, modeling reality itself.
It was modeling motion. I mean, think about it. The usual ancient tech we hear about. It's levers, pulleys, simple screws, maybe a water clock.
Right, pretty basic stuff.
This thing just skips forward 1,000 years. At its heart, you've got these detailed, precise bronze gears.
And this is seriously advanced mechanical engineering.
It is. And the gears weren't just thrown in there. They were designed specifically to simulate the precise and often irregular movements of the sun, the moon, and the planets across the sky.
That's a huge technological leap. I mean, we are talking about a level of mechanical precision that was, well, it should have been unfathomable for that era.
Completely. And the sources are very specific. We attribute this directly to the Greeks.
So they were responsible for a level of mechanical sophistication that we don't see again in Europe until, what, the Renaissance?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
It points to this kind of hidden peak of engineering that we just didn't know about. We focus on their democracy, their philosophy, Roman law.
Right, the big ideas.
We tend to forget they could actually execute incredibly complex mechanical science. The knowledge needed to even design something like this is just, it's shocking.
You'd need astronomers, metallurgists.
Master astronomers to calculate the cycles, master metallurgists to cast the bronze, and master mechanics who could cut 30-plus gears perfectly. It's an incredible convergence of skills.
Which sets the stage for the next big question. What did this celestial engine actually do? Because it wasn't just a pretty model of the heavens, was it? It was predictive.
That's the key. It moves squarely into the realm of computing. It wasn't for just staring at the stars. It was for knowing, with real accuracy, what the stars were going to do weeks, months, even years from now.
So that capability is what makes it a computer. It took input.
Right, the gear ratios were the input. They basically encoded astronomical data.
And it processed that data to produce predictions on a dial.
Exactly. It was a machine built to solve complex problems mechanically.
Okay, so let's break down those predictions because the list in the sources is just staggering. First and foremost, the machine could predict eclipses.
Polar and lunar, yeah.
That alone is the math required for that is immense.
Yeah.
You have to factor in the different speeds and cycles of the moon, the sun, the earth.
And how they all line up. Absolutely. The machine had what's known as a Saros cycle dial.
The Saros cycle.
It's this crucial cycle that predicts how eclipse patterns repeat every 18 years. And to build that into a physical mechanism, you need these incredibly specific gear ratios.
Like what?
One source notes a gear with 254 teeth, matching it with one that has 127 teeth. I mean, that's hyper-specific. It's designed to precisely model the relationship between different lunar cycles.
Okay, wait. Predicting eclipses is one thing, but the sources also say it tracked the movement of the planets themselves. Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn. That has to introduce a whole new level of complexity. How do you model all those different orbits with just gears?
And that That is precisely where the revolutionary genius of this machine lies.
Okay.
Because if you're just moving one dial, that's one thing.
Right.
But to combine the movements of 5 planets plus the sun and moon, you needed something called differential gearing.
Differential gearing. Let's simplify that, because that sounds like something from a modern car.
It is. It's an incredibly clever mechanical equation. In a simple gearbox, one input gives you one output. A differential lets you take 2 different input motions, combine them, and produce a single, much more complex output.
And the Greeks figured this out.
They'd figured out how to use it to, say, subtract the sun's motion from the moon's motion to figure out the phases of the moon. This level of mechanical calculation in a working device, it suggests a knowledge base we just didn't attribute to them before.
That's incredible context. So it modeled the heavens and predicted eclipses, but the sources also say it calculated temporal cycles.
Yes.
So it wasn't just for astronomy, it was about locking human time to cosmic time.
Exactly. It had the Metonic cycle, which is a 19-year pattern to sync up the solar year and lunar months. And remarkably, it had dials for scheduling the Panhellenic Games.
Like the Olympics.
The Olympic Games, yeah. So it was a societal tool, not just a scientific one. It processed data about time, position, prediction. That is the definition of a sophisticated mechanical computer.
They weren't just watching the sky, they mechanized every major cycle they could find in it.
You really did.
Which, of course, brings us to the next critical question. How did modern researchers figure all this out? Because when this thing was found, it wasn't some pristine machine.
No, not at all. It was a corroded, fused lump of bronze and wood.
So how do you go from a rock-encrusted lump of metal to understanding it has 30-plus precision gears inside?
That's a great question. And the story of its discovery is really part of this. It was pulled up by sponge divers in 1901.
Off the coast of Antikythera, the Greek island.
Exactly, alongside statues and coins.
Yeah.
But they didn't know what it was. It was just this small, green, heavy lump. For decades, it was basically ignored in a museum drawer.
So the secret was just locked inside for almost 100 years.
Pretty much. Until modern science finally caught up with ancient ingenuity. The real proof of what was inside only came much, much later. We're talking the early 2000s, around 2005.
And what did they do?
They used incredibly advanced X-ray technology. You couldn't take it apart without destroying it. So they used high-resolution CT scanning, like you'd see in a hospital, to create virtual slices of the artifact.
And that must have been the ultimate aha moment. What did those X-rays show?
It was absolutely revolutionary. The X-rays just cut through all the corrosion and revealed the full internal structure. And it wasn't just a few simple cogs.
No.
The images showed more than 30 interlocking gears, all housed in this complex, multi-layered assembly.
30 gears, all working together with specific tooth counts to model everything from the phase of the moon to the motion of Mars. It proves an engineering skill that's oerstis. It's hard to reconcile with that period of history.
It really is. It shows they not only had the knowledge, but the skill to execute it perfectly in metal.
And there was more, right, on the surface.
Yes. The imaging also revealed these tiny Greek inscriptions etched into the bronze casing.
And they weren't just for decoration.
Not at all. They were basically the operating manual. They detailed the functions of the dials and confirmed this was a predictive engine.
Which is so critical because it leads us to the historical significance, this huge technological gap the machine reveals. Because of its complexity, its function, the pivotal conclusion from all the sources is that this machine is, unequivocally, the first analog computer.
And that just completely disrupts the normal narrative of technological history.
If you accept this was a working computer built around, say, 100 BC, the timeline of innovation is just, it's broken.
It's severely distorted.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The sources all stress this monumental gap in time. After this device was made in Greece, nothing like it appears in the historical record for centuries.
A gap of over 1,000 years.
Let's quantify that. So this incredible mechanical knowledge just vanishes.
It vanishes. We see some rudimentary gears resurface in the Islamic world around the 9th or 10th century, mostly for clocks. But the kind of planetary modeling and differential gearing in this Greek device,
Nothing.
it doesn't really reappear in Europe until the massive astronomical clocks of the 14th century. And it wasn't truly mastered again until the Renaissance. That is a huge, long stretch of technological silence.
It suggests a technological regression. It's not a steady climb. It implies they reached this peak and then just fell off a cliff. The mastery was utterly forgotten.
Or the knowledge was physically destroyed or just didn't get passed down. It suggests a peak was reached early, followed by a profound drop-off that lasted for centuries.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture, this single device forces us to reconsider the depth of classical Greek knowledge and what was lost after Rome fell.
It does, and it raises this really important question.
Yeah.
What happened? What caused this very specific kind of mechanical precision, this blend of astronomy and fine metalworking, to vanish so completely?
It points to this vast, forgotten intellectual inheritance that just disappeared.
Right at the twilight of the classical world.
So what does this all mean for you, the learner? Okay, we've got a 2,000-year-old computer built by the Greeks with more than 30 precise gears inside.
We know it could predict eclipses, track planets.
Using differential gearing, a concept we thought was so much more modern, and its secrets were only unlocked because of modern CT scanning.
Confirming that this level of sophistication just vanished for centuries, creating this undeniable gap in human technological development.
It really is a phenomenal piece of forgotten history.
It is. And for the final thought to leave you with, think about this. Building on that documented time gap.
Okay.
If the Greeks had mastered mechanical simulation and precision engineering to this degree 2,000 years ago, and then that specific knowledge was lost for hundreds and hundreds of years, what other complex knowledge might have been developed back then?
You mean in other fields?
Yeah, perhaps in medicine or chemistry or architecture. What other complex technologies might have vanished without a trace between the classical era and the Renaissance?
So it encourages us to see the history of innovation not as a clear, steady line going up.
Exactly. But as a landscape full of dramatic peaks, deep valleys, and maybe, just maybe, revolutionary discoveries still waiting to be found under the waves of time.